25th, 2025. It is 4:59 p.m. Eastern Time. Hope everybody's having a great Friday. We have a lot of baseball games on today. First thing that I like to do, as you guys know, is look at this weather. I like to look at roto grinders, um, mainly for like rain delays and stuff like that. So there's a lot of games that have a chance for a late start or maybe a delay within the game. But the most concerning game looks like that Cleveland Guardians at Kansas City Royals game. What they're saying on Roto Grinders is models are trending a bit closer for rain to go over that area and storms. They're thinking that a delay of some sort looks fairly likely, and a postpone is possible. And some other games here. Really, all of these are about the same um, when it comes to possible delays. But it looks like they'll play. And I'm looking at Arizona, Pittsburgh, Phillies at Yankees, Blue Jays at Tigers, Rays at Reds, Dodgers at Red Sox, Padres at Cardinals, Cubs at White Sox, and then Rockies at Baltimore. So yeah, once again, I think the biggest chance for a delay or postpone is going to be according to RotoGrinders.com is that Cleveland and Royals game, Cleveland and Kansas City, and then probably that Rockies at Baltimore game. And then when we're looking at wind, I like to look at SwishAnalytics.com. I think they do a good job providing some pretty good updates with the wind. So let's see if there's any windy games here today that could have some impact. Yeah, so that Phillies and Yankees game looks like the wind's going to be going out to right field anywhere from 7 to 10 miles per hour. And Yankees ballpark is already good for left-handed hitters to hit home runs. So this could give an additional boost to those left-handed hitters. They say that just like 5 miles per hour of wind could give an extra, I think it was 19 feet to fly balls, an extra 19 feet added. So we're talking about, once again, looks like 9.8 miles per hour to right field there. Let's see what else do we have here. That might be Mariners at Angels. It's like 8 to 9 mile per hour winds to straightaway center, maybe a little bit towards left field here. And let's go see what that ballpark ranks for home runs. They're saying, according to baseballsavant.com, um, this is a good ballpark for right-handed hitters to hit home runs. It ranks sixth on their list. Uh, so I type park factors MLB in my search engine. One of the first things that pops up is baseball savant, SAVANT, and I filtered it by rolling years one, bat side right, updates, and filter it by home runs. Yeah, and Angels rank six on that chart. I also look at swishanalytics.com, and they have a chart there that has this ballpark ranked average for right-handed hitters to home runs. Anyways, that that 8 to 9 mile per hour straightaway center field could give wind could give that fly ball some extra carry. And then Mets at Giants, I'm seeing looks like about 10 mile per hour winds to straightaway center field as well. Cool. So let's get into it. I like to start with the earliest game, going uh, toward working our way towards the latest games. All right, so first game we have Diamondbacks at Pirates. Well, first thing I'm gonna do is just kind of I'm gonna give you guys what I'm thinking, just what my gut is feeling, and then we'll look at and this is without any research or anything, and then we'll dig into some research and see if my mind changes. All right. So right off the bat, I'll be speaking run line here. So I'm thinking Diamondbacks, Baltimore Orioles, Yankees, Red Sox, Blue Jays, Tampa Bay Rays, um, Padres, Cubs, Braves, Royals, Nationals, Athletics, Mariners, Giants. So those are my predictions just without, any research. But let's dig into it. All right, first game, Diamondbacks at Pittsburgh. So Pittsburgh has a 2-1 record against Arizona this season. Pittsburgh won both of those games by 3+ runs. So if you like Pittsburgh, you got that going for you. And then Arizona won their lone win by exactly 5. Now, Josh Naylor is now with the Mariners. He was a big part of this Diamondbacks offense. Uh, Pittsburgh is 4-6 in Friday home games, and Arizona is 2-5 in Friday road games. So Pittsburgh has a better record in Friday home games than Arizona does Friday road games. Now, when I was looking this morning, they had uh, Pittsburgh as the underdog. It looks like it's changed. Let me check. There are a lot of moving parts when it comes to this baseball stuff and just sports in general. Now I'm seeing the Diamondbacks are now favored again, according to this book that I'm looking at. So, anyways, the if so, I'm gonna just say that the Diamondbacks are favored here. So I like to look at run line trends. So Pittsburgh on the run line as a home underdog ranks ninth best in baseball. They have a 20-9 run line record as a home underdog. Whereas Arizona, when they're a road favorite, they have a 9-15 run line record, and they rank 18th in baseball. Also, Pittsburgh has a better run line record after a win. They rank 12th than Arizona does after a loss. They rank 27th. So we got Nelson that's projected to be the pitcher versus Burrows. Okay. So Nelson pitched, the Diamondbacks pitcher. He pitched versus Pittsburgh on May 26th, and the Diamondbacks won that game 5-0. He only allowed 4 hits through 6.2 innings pitched, 4 strikeouts. Now, on the flip side, Burrows, the Pittsburgh pitcher, pitched at Arizona. This one's in Pittsburgh, mind you, but he pitched at Arizona on May 27th, and Pittsburgh won that game 9-6. He only pitched 3.1 innings and did allow 5 hits, 4 earned runs, 1 home run, 2 walks, and 2 strikeouts. So it looks like Arizona beat him up a little bit in that 3.1 innings that he pitched. But anyway, Arizona is 3-6 on the road with Nelson this season. Pittsburgh is 3-3 at home when Burrows pitches this season. Now, if you like Arizona, once again, they're 3-6 on the road with Nelson pitching this season. They won 2 of those games by 3+ runs, but they lost 4 games out of the 6 that they have lost by 2+ runs. All right. Average pitch count for Nelson has been 64 this season, but it's been 87 in his last 5 games. So it looks like, yeah, he started off not, pitching a whole lot, but it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The last 6 games, he's gotten to 83 pitches or higher. making it anywhere between 5 to 7 innings in this game. Now that's important because the Diamondbacks have the 27th ranked bullpen ERA. So if he comes out, in that fifth inning, the rest of the game is going to be on the shoulders of that 27th ranked Diamondbacks bullpen ERA. Um, let's see here. Okay, so as we said, Pittsburgh is 3-3 at home with Burrows pitching. They won all of those games by 3+ runs. So I think that's a pretty cool trend. They lost every game that they did. They lost at home with Burrows by 3+ runs. So every single game that Burrows has pitched at home this season has been decided by 3 or more runs. The average pitch count for Burrows is 70 this season, 63 in his last 5 games. I'm just gonna go over here to rotowire.com and open up the game log real quick. So um, some of these games he's only gone through 2.1 innings, 1.1 innings in the last 5. Looks like the maximum he's pitching is about, five innings, 5.1 innings this season. So he's also, he could be likely. He's probably is likely, unless stated otherwise. He's likely to come out a little bit early in this game, and but Pittsburgh's bullpen ranks 17th, so they're a little bit better than the Diamondbacks are with that bullpen ERA. Now, um, Burrows does have a 3.7 walks per 9 inning average, and Arizona ranks third in team walks per game. So I think that Arizona could, you know, see an extra couple guys on base just from getting walked in this game. With that being said, Arizona is just an average team when it comes to speed. They rank 16th in stolen bases per game, and Pittsburgh ranks 12th in stolen bases allowed per game. So Pittsburgh's done a good job at defending that. Um, let's see here. Runs per game on the road, Arizona ranks fifth, but let's keep in mind Josh Naylor is no longer with this team. Pittsburgh's done a good job at preventing runs at home. They rank Pittsburgh ranks eighth in runs per game allowed at home. Pittsburgh hasn't done a great job at scoring runs at home. Arizona's been allowing a lot of runs on the road. Um, I would give a slight base stealing advantage here to Pittsburgh if they can get some guys on base. But once again, I think it's a little bit more likely that Arizona gets guys on base from drawing walks. Now, we mentioned Pittsburgh bullpen ERA ranks 17th. Arizona's ranks 27th. Arizona ranks 7th in team strikeouts per game, so they're a pretty tough team to strike out. Pittsburgh ranks 25th in strikeouts per game, team strikeouts per game. So they strike out a lot. With all that being said, I think I'd have to lean towards Pittsburgh in this game. And we were talking about how they're the dog, plus 1.5. Now it's heavily juiced. I think if I had to go with one way or another on who wins this one, I'll have to go with Pittsburgh here. I also like how Pittsburgh's bats match up a little bit more against the right-handed Nelson than the Diamondbacks do against the right-handed Burrows. I'm seeing there's 6 guys that I'm kind of looking at here for the Pirates, and then 4 guys for the Diamondbacks that have a decent batting average against right-handed pitching. So now I'm kind of looking at Nelson's, the Diamondbacks pitcher. 63% of the time he throws a four-seam fastball this season. The Pirates haven't been that great against that specific pitch. So That does worry me a little bit. The Diamondbacks, they have four guys: Marte, Suarez, Carroll, and Perdomo, who are batting 255. Their batting average is 255 or higher against right-handed pitching this season, and they're batting pretty good off that four seam, which Burrows likes to throw 43% of the time. It's his most uh, used pitch, as well as Nelson. So, with that being said, I mean the Diamondbacks slugging against that four seam is good as well, and slugging percentage just kind of shows us how powerful a batter is. They got some guys that can slug for sure. I don't think this will be an easy game for Pittsburgh by any means, but that's just the way that I lean according to the data that I'm looking at. So let's move on here. Let's see if they've updated this Rockies game, the starting lineup. I've been waiting for it to come out. One moment, please. So he's not in. Now the Rockies did get rid of. They traded. Hey, hold on, real quick, guys. I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm just checking these starting lineups for the Baltimore Orioles. All right. Um, Now I think this is somewhat of an even matchup here today, but let's go over the data. So these teams haven't played each other this season. Baltimore has a 5-2 record in Friday night home games, and Baltimore won four of those games by 2+ runs. So if you're thinking about taking Baltimore by 2+ today, you got that going for you. Also, the Rockies record in Friday night, or not Friday night, but Friday away games is 1-7. All right. They lost 6 out of 7 of those games by 2+ runs. So right there, if you're thinking about taking Baltimore by 2+, you got those trends working in your favor. Now, this is we'll talk about home runs maybe here in just a second, but this should be a good spot for these guys to hit home runs today. There might be better spots, but this ballpark, it is. I'm seeing that it's above average for lefties and righties to hit home runs in. So we got Freeland on the bump today for the Rockies, left-handed pitcher versus Kramer, right-handed pitcher for the Orioles. I don't see anything with the run line trends that is worth mentioning, so we'll just continue on. Now the Rockies are 2-7 on the road with Freeland this season. Um, when Freeland pitches. And the Rockies won both of those games by exactly 1 run. So +1.5. I know some people like stacking plays, and I don't really like doing that. But if you're thinking, the Orioles +1.5 here, um, I'm sure that's super juiced. But uh, every game that Freeland's pitched on the road this season, the Rockies either lost the game or won the game by exactly 1 run. The Rockies lost 6 of the games that they lost with Freeland on the road by 2+ runs. His average pitch count's 86 in his last 5 games. Now Freeland is worse against right-handed hitters. We're talking about batting average, home runs, and walks. All right. So if I were targeting a home run hitter today for Baltimore, I'd be going with a righty. Now, sure, there might be some other guys that have a bigger slugging percentage, but right now I'm kind of looking at Laureano and Westberg. Um, maybe Laureano. So let's look at Orioles home run leaders 2025 and just kind of see, who's hoping Laureano's he's tied for first on this Baltimore list. And the reason why I say Laureano is because he's batting 247 against left-handed pitching this season, and he's slugging 444 against left-handed pitching, which isn't like great, but when you mix batting average with slugging percentage, I'm thinking, and the hand that he bats with, I'm thinking, it makes the most sense. Now we can also look at we see that Freeland his favorite pitch is that four seam fastball, which he throws 28% of the time, which isn't a huge you know portion. He also throws his pitch arsenal's somewhat diverse here, but let's look at something here for Laureano when it comes to that four seam fastball. What is he? What is he? Orioles slugging that four seam fastball at 492. And then what about the curve? Now, also, guys, he's slugging 846 off the curveball, which is Freeland's second most used pitch, and then the cutter is his third most used pitch. Um, Laureano isn't doing so great on that specific pitch. But and he doesn't have a great batting average against the cutter as well. But what I will say is that the Rockies have a bad bullpen. Both of these teams do. The Rockies rank 26th in bullpen ERA. Baltimore ranks 25th. So if I were to go with the home run hitter there, I'd say Laureano. But Kyle Freeland, his home runs per nine inning, typically to take a home run hitter. I mean, I personally really don't like doing it, but typically, you want this home runs per nine inning to be at least one. It's at 0.9 for Kyle Freeland, his home runs per nine inning average. Okay, so looking at Kramer, he hasn't pitched against Colorado this season. Now Baltimore is 5-2 at home with Kramer pitching this season, and they won every single one of those games by 2+ runs. They lost both of the games that they did lose by exactly 3 runs. Kramer, we mentioned these bullpens are pretty bad in this game, but Kramer has been throwing more pitches. His average pitch count is higher throughout the season than Freeland's, also in his last 5 games. Now, he's slightly worse against left-handed hitters. I'm talking about batting average and home runs. So if I were looking for, a home run hitter today for the Rockies, probably be Moniak. And he's slugging 570 off of right-handed pitching. He's batting 281 off of right-handed pitching. I think that's a nice mix. And considering the hand that he's batting with, um, he's a lefty. This ballpark ranks really good for left-handed hitters to hit home runs in. I would say Moniak here. And then we can also kind of just look at that four seam and what Moniak is slugging against that four seam fastball, which is what Kramer throws the most of. And Moniak's slugging at a 576 right there. And then the split. I don't think the Rockies have a whole lot of history. Well, I guess it's all right. Yeah, 600, slugging 600 against the split and the sinker. It's his third most used pitch. Moniak slugging at a 720. So I think this is a good spot for Moniak. To be honest with you, now I wish Kramer's home runs per nine inning average was a little bit higher. It is at 1.1, which is okay. I would say that Moniak is probably my favorite home run hitter in this game. But let's move on here. Runs per game on the road, runs per game allowed at home, and that type of stuff. I think the biggest advantage here is that Baltimore ranks 11th best in baseball in runs per game at home, whereas the Rockies rank 27th in runs per game allowed on the road. So the Rockies defense hasn't been doing good. Their offense hasn't been doing good on the road either. The Rockies, with McMahon being gone now, it could get even worse. But I don't think he was really doing that great this season. Anyways, I don't know. But anyways, the Rockies strike out more than any other team in baseball per game, and the Orioles, they're below average as well in that department. Now, with all that being said, I think the Rockies could get a win here today, but uh, I would have to lean towards Baltimore in this one, really because of the trends that we talked about, right? How Baltimore's 5-2 at home with Kramer, and they won all those games by 2+ runs. How Colorado was 2-7 on the road with Freeland, and they lost 6 of those games by 2+ runs. Um, Oh, the Friday night games are the Friday games as well. Baltimore's 5-2 in Friday home games. Won 4 out of 5 of those games by 2+ runs. The Rockies are 1-7 in Friday away games and lost 6 of those games by 2+ runs. But I think the Rockies could keep this game close, surprisingly close. But the data is telling me that Baltimore gets this one by 2+ runs. Now you can fade the data. There's plenty of times where I'll be here and go over some games and some data, and everything looks good for one team, and the other team ends up winning. So, um, maybe you felt good about Baltimore going into this game, and now you just heard some of this information. It makes you feel even better about them, or maybe you're like, I don't know. So, just you can kind of make up your own mind. But yeah, I'm going to lean towards Baltimore. Minus the 1.5, but I wouldn't be surprised to see the Rockies keep this one close. All right, moving on. Phillies at Yankees, and I'll let you know if I see something that really, catches my eye. I think there was a game. I was thinking maybe the Royals, but that game might be getting rained out. But yeah, let's just continue and see what we got. All right, because I literally am like in my research I have all the data here and I'm analyzing it with you guys. I haven't analyzed much of this before the show. All right, so Phillies at Yankees. From my understanding, it's Anthony Volpe bobblehead night. These teams haven't played each other this season. The Yankees are 5-3 in Friday home games. The Phillies are 2-5 in Friday road games. The biggest run line trend advantage I see is that the Yankees they rank second best in baseball on the run line as a home favorite. Now Walker hasn't pitched against the Yankees this season. Phillies are 5-4 on the road with Walker this season. They won 4 of those games by 3+ runs. They lost 2 of those games by 4+ runs. The 4 games that they lost 2 of them by 4+ runs. The other 2 they lost by exactly a run. Now, Walker's pitch count has been low. It's at 51, 45 in his last 5, 51 throughout the entire season. With that being said, it's likely, unless, you can find information elsewhere, which, I didn't, I can kind of click on this real quick to see if they're saying that he might throw longer, but I'm not seeing any indication that he's going to be throwing much more than that tonight. Um, With that being said, that's important because the Yankees, or excuse me, the Phillies bullpen ranks 22nd in bullpen ERA. So they have a below average bullpen ERA. Now, this is a ballpark that ranks as the third best ballpark for home runs for left-handed hitters. For left-handed hitters, and we talked about that wind also giving some carry out there to right field. So those fly balls could be going over the wall here. With that being said, Walker is worse against right-handed hitters in regards to batting average, home runs, and walks. His walks per 9 inning average is at 3.6, which makes me want to look into this a little bit more. I'm thinking once it's at 3.5, that might he could lose a little bit of that command. And the Yankees rank first in baseball at drawing walks per game. Now, the Yankees aren't the greatest base stealing team. They rank 19th in stolen bases per game. The Phillies rank ninth in stolen bases allowed per game. Um, but they could get some guys on, through those walks. So I think, we got to bump the Yankees up for that. Now, Warren, Yankees pitcher, hasn't pitched against the Phillies this season. The Yankees are 6-4 at home with Warren. They won all of those games by 2+ runs. So I think that's pretty cool. If you're thinking about taking the Yankees by 2+ tonight, which I think that's probably might be, like what I feel the best in just as of right now. Yankees, they won every game by 2+ runs that they won with Warren. 6-4 at home with Warren, won all of them by 2+. But guess what? They also lost every game that Warren lost at home. That the Yankees lost at home with Warren pitching, I should say. They lost all those games by 2+ runs. So every game that Warren's pitched at home this season has been decided by 2+ runs. So maybe you were thinking about, maybe you're like, I don't know whether or not to take the money line or the run line, or I don't know if I want to just take the Phillies to win or do an alt run line. Well, all of these games, and I'm not saying it's going to happen, but that's what the data is saying, right? That every game that Warren has pitched at home this season has been by 2+ runs. The average pitch count is 84 that he's pitching, 90 in his last five. He's much worse against left-handed hitters, and that's important in this game, right? We talked about the wind. We talked about um, how this ballpark is good for left-handed hitting home runs, and that's important here because the Phillies, with Schwarber and Harper and so really those two guys, right? It's a good spot for them. Um, Now, Warren does have a high walks per 9 inning average. It's at 4.3. So it's higher than Walker's. And the Phillies are good at drawing walks as well. They rank seventh in team walks per game. The Phillies are also a better base stealing team than the Yankees. They rank sixth in stolen bases per game. The Yankees rank eighth in base stealing prevention. So they've been, pretty good at limiting that. And also, from my understanding, Warren is pretty good at holding base runners from advancing. So better than Walker. So, Yankees, the Phillies, they've been struggling to score runs on the road this season. They rank 20th in runs per game on the road this season. The Yankees have been doing a great job at limiting opponent runs per game at home. They rank fifth best. The Yankees have done good at scoring runs at home this season. They rank fourth best at runs per game at home. Nobody in baseball is better than the Phillies at limiting runs per game on the road. They rank first. I would give the Phillies a slight base stealing advantage here. Um, I mean, both of these bullpen ERAs are very similar. They rank 20th, which is the Yankees, and 22nd for the Phillies. So the Yankees have a slightly better bullpen ERA. But I would give the Yankees, a little bit of more of an edge here because I would think Walker is going to come out of this game a little bit earlier, a little bit sooner than Warren, right? So I'm thinking just the data's telling me that Philadelphia is going to be using that bullpen a little bit earlier. The Phillies are a tougher team to strike out than the Yankees. Um, Now, with all that being said, I'm looking at five batters here for the Yankees. Goldschmidt has a 246 batting average against right-handed pitching. Bellinger 255, Chisholm 257, Grisham 286, and Judge 353. Whereas, on the other side, there's a few guys I'm looking at here too for the Phillies: Marsh, Castellanos, Harper, Turner, Realmuto. Now I'm looking at these batting averages against their opponent's most used pitch. And I would say that the Yankees batting average against that cutter, 30% used cutter, is better than those five guys I mentioned for the Yankees, is better than the Phillies and how they match up against that 39% used four seam fastball by Warren. Now, when we're talking about slugging percentage, I mean, let's go back to who I'm thinking about leaning towards in this game. I have to lean towards the Yankees really because of the trends that we talked about and the fact that Walker is more subject to come out of this game a little bit earlier and expose that bullpen of Philadelphia more than the Yankees. But Philadelphia does have some, advantages here too. But let's look for a home run hitter. So we were talking about how this ballpark is good for lefties. Now Walker for Philadelphia is worse against right-handed hitters, but Warren is much worse against left-handed hitters. And we're talking about batting average, home runs, and walks. But home runs is what we're looking at. His home runs per nine inning rate is at 1.0, which I wish it was a little bit higher here. But let's say that maybe one of your Phillies doesn't hit a home run today against Warren. Maybe they could hit one against that 20th ranked bullpen ERA from the Yankees, right? Now, when we're talking about slugging percentage against right-handed pitchers, Harper Harper slugs 512 off of right-handed pitchers out of the five guys that have a 259 or higher batting average for the Phillies against right-handed pitching this season. Harper leads the team in slugging percentage out of those five guys. He also leads this Phillies team out of those five guys, and maybe the whole team, but um, slugging against that four seam fastball. He's slugging that at a 635. Um, and Warren throws that four seam 39% of the time. So we're looking at about a little bit under half of Warren's pitch arsenal. Harper is most likely going to see, a four seam or two, slugging 635 off that. He's not doing as great off the other two pitches, though. He's slugging 375 off the 22% used sweeper and then 281 off the 20% used sinker. I think all around slugging here, I'm kind of looking at for all these pitches. For a lefty, I mean Harper, I think is going to be my guy here. Um, and he ranked second in home runs for Philadelphia this season. So I don't know if he has any history off of Will Warren. That's also good to look at. Realmuto has a couple of home runs or a couple of hits, excuse me, off him. Harper, he has three at bats, zero home runs, zero hits. So not a whole lot of history here, but that would be my home run pick in this game. Harper. With that being said, even though I'd be going Harper, I got to lean with the Yankees here. Now, I think it is a very somewhat, pretty even matchup, right? Um, but I do like the trends that I'm seeing with the Yankees in regards to the fact that they have a better record in Friday home games than Philadelphia does in Friday road games. I like that the Yankees rank second on the run line as a home favorite this season. The Yankees technically have a better record at home with their starting pitcher than the Phillies do with their starting pitcher on the road. Walker hasn't been pitching deep into the games, and I think that 22nd ranked Philadelphia Phillies bullpen ERA could get a little bit more work today. A little bit more work early on than the Yankees bullpen. But once again, I do think the Phillies can draw some walks. Um, and if somebody can go deep for the Phillies here, that could change change things real quick. So I think it's a pretty even game, but I'd have to lean towards the Yankees by 2+. And I say 2+ because once again they're 6-4 at home with Warren and won all of those games by 2+ runs. But if you're thinking about taking the Phillies today, once again, the Yankees lost all the games that they did lose with Warren at home by 2+ runs. All right, moving on. Dodgers at Red Sox. Um, these teams haven't played each other this season. Boston is 6-2 in Friday home games. The Dodgers are 5-3 in Friday road games. The Red Sox have the most favorable run line record advantage that I see here. They rank tied for 11th on the run line as a home underdog. They are 6-3, but it looks like that may have changed. Maybe they have become favorites. Anyways, that line is real close. That could change that run line trend. If you're really interested in it, I would just go to your search engine and go type in run line trends MLB. That should take you to something good that you want to see if you have the correct filters in there. But anyways, let's talk more about the game here. So Sheehan is the right-handed pitcher that's projected to be in for the Dodgers here, and then Bayo, right-handed pitcher for the Red Sox. So Sheehan hasn't pitched against Boston this season. The Dodgers have a 1-0 record with Sheehan on the road this season. They won that game by exactly 1 run. Now Sheehan, his average pitch count is 66. Doesn't seem to be at a disadvantage against a particular left-handed or right-handed batter here. He throws a lot of four-seam fastballs. 46% of his pitches are four-seam fastballs. So when I'm looking at how some of these top batting averages against right-handed pitching for Boston match up against the four-seam, they're honestly lacking a little. Oh well, these are batting averages. I thought they were slugging. Batting averages, they're okay. Duran's batting a 254 off the four seam. Toro 288. Rafaela 307. Now Bayo hasn't pitched against the Dodgers this season. Boston is 8-4 at home with Bayo this season. They won 5 of those games by 5+ runs. They won all of those games by 2+ runs. So if you're thinking about taking Boston here today, and you take them by 2+ runs, and they happen to win by 1 run today, it would be the first time in 8 wins at home with Bayo that they did that. And one moment, please, guys. All right. Thanks for your patience, everybody. So yeah, I mean that's a really good trend to know, right? If you're on the fence about taking the Red Sox on the money line or by 2+, I mean they've won every game that they did win. Once again, they're 8-4 at home with Bayo pitching this season. Won all of those games by 2+ runs. Um, Now, 3 out of the 4 games that they did lose with Bayo at home, they lost by 2+ runs. So if you like the Dodgers today by 2+, you got that working for you. Now, average pitch count for Bayo, 94 for the season, 94 in his last five. Um, and I see that he's maybe a little bit below average at holding base runners on. The Dodgers are a good team at drawing walks per game, but he's right under that threshold. I do think the Dodgers could maybe, draw a couple walks here, but um, typically I'm more alarmed at that walks per 9 inning average if it's a little bit higher. So, runs per game on the road. Dodgers rank they rank tied for 7th in that department, so they're good at scoring runs per game on the road. Boston ranks second in runs per game at home. They both rank 13th. Boston ranks 13th in runs per game allowed at home. The Dodgers rank 13th in runs per game allowed on the road. Um, in regards to base stealing, I would have to give Boston a slight advantage here. They rank 8th in stolen bases per game. The Dodgers are below average in stolen bases allowed per game. And I don't know what Sheehan's pickoff move is like, but maybe you do, or how good he is at holding base runners. The source that I was using didn't have that um, information on this particular pitcher, Sheehan. But anyways, I would have to give the Dodgers a slight base stealing advantage here, or not the Dodgers, the Red Sox. And then just so you know, the Dodgers rank 20th in stolen bases per game. Boston ranks 26th in stolen bases allowed per game. Now, Boston's bullpen is much better than the Dodgers. Boston's bullpen ERA ranks 5th best in baseball, and the Dodgers bullpen ERA ranks 24th in baseball. So there's only a handful of teams um, that have a higher ERA than the Dodgers bullpen do this season. Now, Boston likes to strike out. They rank 28th in strikeouts per game, and the Dodgers are about average in that department. With all that being said, I'm gonna have to lean towards the Red Sox in this one. I like I like the fact that they're better in Friday home games than the Dodgers are in Friday road games. I like the fact that the Red Sox pitchers pitcher is throwing 94 pitches per game, whereas Sheehan's throwing 66, and the Dodgers bullpen is ranked 24th, right? So the Dodgers bullpen could see some early work in this game today. Um, and I like the batting average that the Red Sox have against right-handed pitching more than I like the Dodgers and how their bats stack up against right-handed pitching. I'm seeing 4 guys for the Dodgers, right? Otani, Podges, Freeman, and Smith batting 260 or above against right-handed pitching. And then there's 6 guys for the Red Sox that are batting 251 or better against right-handed pitching this season. Now, this from my understanding, this ballpark is not on one of the lists, so I don't really want to go over home runs for this game. Not on the list for like most favorable ballparks, according to the 2 sources that I was looking at. But maybe it is. I would think more so for lefties for that or instead of that green monster, right? I mean, seeing just below average on this source that I'm looking at. Um, but anyways, yeah, give me have to lean towards the Red Sox here. Plus, I think the Red Sox are kind of hot, right? And the Dodgers are kind of not. 6-4 in their last 10. Boston. Dodgers 4-6 in their last 10. So just a little bit better in their last 10 games. But anyways, moving on. All right, Rays at Cincy. These teams haven't played each other this season. Tampa Bay Rays and Cincinnati Reds. I also just want to check on weather real quick, guys. Um, I'm seeing that the what rotogrinders.com is telling me is that it's the only game with any real risk of getting postponed tonight. So, okay, Tampa Bay Rays and Cincinnati Reds. These teams haven't played each other this season. The Cincinnati Reds are 5-2 in Friday home games. The Tampa Bay Rays have a 2-7 record in Friday road games. This ballpark, from my understanding, is good for right-handed hitters to hit home runs. It ranks third best ballpark for right-handed hitting home runs on BaseballSavant.com. And then Swish Analytics has this ballpark ranked above average for right-handed hitters to hit home runs as well. Now, before I get into these pitchers, like to see which right-handed batters or left-handed batters bat better against these guys. It looks like about the same, you know, but Littell, I'm seeing right here the Tampa Bay's pitcher has a 1.8 home run per 9 inning average, which I believe is the highest on today's slate. Let me just scroll up real quick. It is out of the projected pitchers as of yesterday. I don't think any of these projected pitchers have changed. Littell, Tampa Bay's starting pitcher, is allowing the most home runs per 9 inning. Uh, this out of all the games today, out of all of the starting pitchers that are projected to pitch today. So, Littell hasn't pitched against the Reds this season. Tampa Bay is 6-4 on the road with him. They won 5 of those games by 2+ runs. They won 3 of those games by 5+ runs. So half of the games that they won on the road with Littell, the Braves have won by 5+ runs. They lost 2 out of the 4 games that they did lose on the road with Littell by 3+ runs. Average pitch count this season has been 87 for him, 84 in his last 5 games. I wrote in my notes here, pitches the same to both sides of the plate. Um, Now let's kind of look at. I got 5 guys here in mind for Cincinnati. I feel like you got to make contact to hit a home run, right? But some of these guys have a terrible batting average nowadays, and they can, any given night they can take one out of the park. But I try to get guys, look at guys that have a decent batting average against right-handed pitching. The guys I'm seeing right now is Hayes 255, Steer 258, Friedel 277, Lux 291, Ellie De La Cruz 301 batting average against the right-handed pitching this season. Now, when we look at slugging percentage against righties, I'm seeing Ellie, but he should be batting as a lefty tonight, right? So we're looking for a righty. Um, Slugging percentage, Hayes 450 against right-handed pitching. Steer 414 against right-handed pitching. Now, Littell likes to throw that slider 31% of the time, which is his most used pitch this season. Steer is batting a 379 or 379 slugging versus that slider. 397. 397 he's slugging against that. Hayes 350 But as we get into these other pitches, guys, let's say that slider was at like 50%, then I would be a little bit more concerned with how these guys slug off of that specific pitch. But he's mixing it up with the splitter and the four seam. So when I'm looking at the splitter, I'm seeing Hayes is slugging 600 against the splitter, Steer slugging 545, and then Steer slugging 857 off that four seam fastball, which is Littell's third most used pitch, which is a good slugging percentage, right? But I kind of just want to look at like what the sample size on here is, because sometimes numbers can be just a little misleading. But let's just go look. Yeah, Austin Hayes slugging a team high 875 off that, and he's seen 199 pitches of that. 51 plate appearances against that pitch, but looks like he's seeing that pitch often, and that's what he's doing good with. I think if he sees that splitter, he could do it. He ranks fourth for the Cincinnati Reds in home runs this season, fourth on the team. He has 10 home runs this season. Does he have any history here against Littell? Let's go take a look. I'm not seeing much history here. Now, Hayes does have 6 at bats, 0 home runs against him, but he has 3 hits. That would be my guy for Cincinnati and maybe even this game. But let's go look at the other pitcher here, Martinez. Um, hasn't pitched against Tampa Bay this season. I'm not going to go through home run hitters in every game, too, guys, but I do want to kind of just touch base on them on the ballparks that say that it's favorable for hitters to do that. All right, so Martinez hasn't pitched against the Tampa Bay Rays this season. Cincinnati 6-5 at home with Martinez. Cincinnati won every one of those games by 2+ runs. They won 4 out of 6 of those games by 5+ runs. They won half of those games that they did win at home with Martinez pitching by 6+ runs. And the Reds also lost all 5 games that they lost at home with Martinez this season by 2+ runs. So, um, I think those are some pretty interesting trends, right? Um, and then average pitch count has been 80 for Martinez this season, 92 in his last 5 games. Now, Martinez has a much worse batting average against right-handed hitters, is what I'm seeing. But that's batting average. Home runs, I'm kind of looking at rotowire.com right here. Home runs, I see that he's probably giving up a little bit more to lefties, but it's about even. So if you like a right-handed pitcher here or a hitter here for Tampa Bay, it's not looking terrible. Now I wish that home runs per 9 inning rate was a little bit higher, but it's still sitting at 1.2 for Martinez, so I think it's doable for sure. I mean, it's baseball, right? And yeah, 1.2 is getting up there, but let's look at the slugging percentage for these guys: Josh Lowe, Caminero, Diaz, Simpson, and Aranda. Slugging percentage against right-handed pitching. We got Caminero at slugging 545, and then Aranda 521. When we're looking at now, Martinez has a diverse pitch arsenal. When we're looking at who's slugging the best, Caminero's slugging a 639 off that 22% used four seam for Martinez. Diaz actually is slugging the best out of those 5 guys that I just mentioned at a 675. Now, once again, Martinez's pitch arsenal is diverse, so it's important for us to look at these other slugging percentages. So, 20% cutter, um, 609 slugging for Josh Josh Lowe, but he's a lefty, right? Kind of looking for a righty. So Camaro's a righty. Diaz. I mean, those are the guys, right? Caminero and Diaz. So all around, who's slugging the best off of these three pitches? Um, that Martinez likes to throw. I would say Caminero. Now, is there any history here? Caminero slugging 639 off of the four seam, 22% used. Most favorite pitch for Martinez, and then he throws the cutter and the change the same amount, 20% of the time. But Caminero's only slugging 333 and 385 against those pitches. But Diaz is slugging 675 off the four seam, and then 528 versus the change. So, but he's slugging four. Caminero's slugging 545 off right-handed pitching. Diaz has a higher batting average against right-handed pitching. Maybe really what this comes down to me is like, if does anybody have any history against him? I mean, no, no. Um, Bullpens here are about the same, but I don't know. I guess I'd have to be leaning towards uh, Caminero. All right, runs per game at home, runs per game on the road. What stands out to me here is that Tampa Bay has done a good job at defending against teams when they are on the road. They rank fourth best at runs per game allowed on the road this season. Everything else looks about even here. I'd actually give Tampa Bay a slight edge when it comes to runs per game on the road versus runs per game allowed at home for Cincinnati, and vice versa. Stolen bases, I think Tampa Bay could take a big if they get on base, I think they have a very nice advantage here. They rank first in stolen bases per game. Cincinnati ranks 22nd in stolen bases allowed per game. Martinez, from my understanding, is about average at holding base runners on base. So he's about average at holding base runners on base. But yeah, Tampa Bay is a good base stealing team. Cincinnati has, they are below average in stolen bases allowed per game. Cincinnati is an average base stealing team. They rank 14th in stolen bases per game. Tampa Bay ranks 28th in stolen bases allowed per game. And Littell, from my understanding, Littell is a little bit worse at holding base runners than Martinez is. So I'd just give a slight advantage to Tampa Bay there. Another slight advantage when it comes to the bullpen. ERA, Tampa Bay's ranks 12th, Cincinnati's ranks 13th. Team strikeouts per game, Tampa Bay just barely edges them out here. I'm just seeing a lot of small um, things that are adding up for Tampa Bay for me to take them in this game. Uh, I think what it comes down to is just all the things that we just mentioned, and then Tampa Bay 6-4 on the road with Littell, Cincinnati 6-5 at home with Martinez. Cincinnati has a better record on Friday night home or Friday home games than Tampa Bay does on Friday road games. But I like Tampa Bay's base stealing advantage. And there was something else that I was looking at that I liked. But I just it's close to call. It's close to call. Um, this is probably the game that I feel the least comfortable about. But I'd have to lean towards Tampa Bay. I think I like the fact that Tampa or Cincinnati's lost every game that they did lose at home with Martinez by 2+ runs, and the 5 out of 6 road games that Tampa Bay won with Littell, they won by 2+ runs. But anyways, let's move on. All right, Toronto and Detroit. This line was close too. I didn't see like I didn't look at run line trends was when Toronto was a home favorite or a road underdog or anything of that nature. But I just looked at Toronto run line after a win. They rank tied for first best run line record in baseball whenever they are coming off a win. And Detroit after a loss ranks 26th in baseball on that run line after a loss. Now these teams are 2-2 against each other this season. Detroit won by exactly one in both of the games that they did win. Toronto won by exactly one in one of the games that they won, and then they won by exactly seven in the other game that they won. Both of these teams have the same record when it comes to Friday home games and Friday road games. Toronto's 5-3 on the Friday road games, and Detroit vice versa. Vice versa. All right, so we got Barrios versus Montero. These are the projected pitchers in this game. Okay, yeah, I did. The starting lineups were out before I looked in this game. I'm not, now this is the 10th best park for right-handed hitting home runs. I'm seeing maybe target Detroit. I'm seeing maybe target in my notes here, target Detroit right-handed hitting home runs. If I were to target a right-handed or a player here, but I'm not really seeing that these guys are slugging too good off of. I wonder why I wrote that. I think it was just because Montero has been much worse against left-handed hitters this season when it comes to batting average, home runs, and walks allowed. But Montero has a high home run per nine inning average. It's at 1.7, which is one of the highest on today's slate. So, anyways, let's backtrack a little bit. Barrios pitched versus Detroit on May 18th, and they lost that game 3-2. Detroit lost that game, or excuse me, Toronto lost that game 3-2. Whenever Barrios, the starting pitcher for Toronto, pitched versus Detroit, and Detroit kind of beat him up a little bit. It looks like here, 8 hits, 6 innings pitched, but he minimized the damage. 2 earned runs, no home runs allowed, 1 walk, and 4 strikeouts. Toronto has a 6-4 road record with Barrios pitching, and then Detroit on the flip side is 2-3 with Montero pitching on the road this season. So Toronto has a better record on the road with Barrios than Detroit does with Montero at home. Um, Toronto won 4 of those games by 2+ runs, and they lost 3 of the 4 games that they did lose by 2+ runs. Average pitch count for Barrios 87. It's been 80 in his last 5 games. What I will say is that Toronto's bullpen ranks sixth in ERA. So I would be a little bit more comfortable with a team like Toronto if my starting pitcher was throwing, 80, 70, 60 pitches in his last 5 games. But he's once again thrown 80 in his last five. What I'm seeing here, in case you're interested, he's much worse at walking left-handed hitters. Barrios is. He's above average at holding base runners on. Um, Detroit. Okay, that's about all I got there. And then with Montero, Detroit is 2-3 on the road with Montero this season. They won one of those games by exactly 10. Detroit lost every game that they've lost with Montero on the road this season. They lost all of those games by 3+ runs. His average pitch count is even lower than Barrios. And we mentioned that Detroit's bullpen ERA is worse than Toronto's. So, yeah, I'm liking Toronto. Much worse against left-handed hitting this season. So, I mean, yeah, I hear this is one of the better parks it's a slightly above average when it comes to right-handed hitters hitting home runs. But once again, Montero's worst against left-handed hitters this season. But that doesn't mean that he can't throw, can't throw a meatball to one of these big right-handed bats, Guerrero, Springer, Bichette, uh, for Toronto. Now, um, Montero, we did mention his home runs per 9 inning rate is high. It's at 1.7, second highest on today's projected starting pitchers list. So, um, with all that being said, let's look at the runs per game on the road and all that stuff. Detroit, looks like they have an advantage when it comes to runs per game allowed at home. They rank 11th, best at that. They also rank ninth in runs per game at home, whereas Toronto is below average at scoring runs per game on the road and below average in allowing runs per game on the road. Stolen bases. I don't see a lot of stolen bases in this game. Neither of these teams are big base stealing teams, and both of them are good at base stealing prevention. Toronto is a very tough team to strike out. They rank first in baseball in team strikeouts per game, so they're the best at not striking out per game. And Detroit ranks 26th. So yeah, well, I think what this comes down to is we may see this Detroit bullpen a little bit sooner than we're going to see Toronto's. Toronto's just feels like they've been playing pretty good lately. 7-3 in their last 10 games. Detroit 1-9 in their last 10 on a 4-game losing streak. I'd have to lean, towards Toronto. And I'm also just liking the bats for Toronto. I'm seeing one, two, three, four, five, six, seven guys that have a batting average of 241 or better against right-handed pitching. Whereas I see six guys for the Tigers that are batting 246 or higher against right-handed pitching. So, I mean, even though it's like seven batters versus six batters, I'm you know, little things like that can make a big difference if you. But anyways, I'm looking at the batting averages against Montero's most used pitch, the four seam. The batting averages for Detroit against that 32% used sinker by Barrios. I think Detroit honestly has a better batting average. It looks like against Barrios's favorite pitch than the Blue Jays do against that Montero's favorite pitch, but it's close. And both of these pitchers do have somewhat of a diverse pitch arsenal. You'll see later on, there's some guys that throw 40, 50% of, their favorite pitch. These guys are throwing 32% for Barrios, 29% for Montero. All right, yeah, I just like the way Toronto's been playing lately. I don't like the way Detroit's been playing lately. All right, so we got the Cardinals. Um, Looks like I have a little bit less research done for this game. Um, I haven't found anything that I absolutely love today, but hey, man, I like some stuff. Toronto and Boston and the Yankees and Baltimore and yeah. So let's keep moving on here. All right, San Diego at St. Louis. I think Flo Rida, and he's the dude that sings the song "Low, Low." Looks like he's got a post game concert tonight in this St. Louis game. So, anyways, St. Louis is 1-0 against San Diego this season. St. Louis won by exactly two. St. Louis has a 5-2 record in Friday home games, and San Diego is 5-4 in Friday road games. The biggest run line advantage I see here is San Diego has the fifth best run line record after a loss in baseball. Pivetta versus Mikolas is the projected uh, pitchers in this game. I'm just going to cruise through this game a little bit. How many games do we still have left? Trying to keep the show under 2 hours. Um, so it looks like maybe like 45 minutes tops. But yeah, Pivetta, right-handed pitcher. San Diego is 6-3 on the road with Pivetta this season. They won 4 of those games by 2+ runs. They lost 2 games by exactly 6. Pitch count 89 has been his average this season, 95 in his last five. Slightly worse batting average allowed to right-handed hitters. So I'm kind of looking at this Cardinals lineup. Looks like 6 out of their 9 starters are righties. Uh, that's about all I got for Pavetta. Then the Cardinals. Mikolas hasn't pitched against San Diego this season. The Cardinals have a worse record at home with Mikolas than the Padres do on the road with Pavetta. The Cardinals are 4-4 at home with Mikolas. They won 2 of those games by 3+ runs. They lost 2 games by exactly 3 runs. Pitch count has been 81 this season for Mikolas and 83 in his last 5. Looks like he pitches about the same to both sides of the plate here. Mikolas does have a somewhat high home runs per 9 inning average when it comes to relative to all the other pitchers on today's slate. 1.6, but I'm not seeing that this ballpark is specifically good for home run hitting. But I mean, hitters are gonna hit. Uh, so like I said, I've done a little bit less research in this game. I see some bats for both teams that I like, and as far as batting average against right-handed pitching, San Diego runs per game on the road. They're not doing good. San Diego's not a good offense when they're on the road this season. They rank 26 in runs per game on the road. The Cardinals rank 8th in runs per game at home. Both defenses are about the same. Stolen bases per game, I'd give a slight edge to San Diego. Bullpen ERA, slight edge to San Diego. Strikeouts per game, slight edge to San Diego. Just yeah, I think I see a bunch of slight advantages for San Diego in this game. I think I'd have to lean towards San Diego getting this one. That run line. I see the run line after a loss. That run line trend is in San Diego's favor. They have a better record with their starting pitcher on the road than the Cardinals do with their starting pitcher at home. Um, just a slight base stealing advantage, slight bullpen advantage, slight strikeouts advantage. Real tough game here. But give me, yeah, I guess, give me the Padres here. Just keep in mind, though, Padres once again ranked 26 in runs per game on the road, and St. Louis ranks 8th best in runs per game at home. All right, moving on. Chicago. I didn't see the starting lineup before this, so let me just check real quick to see if I like the starting lineup for the Chicago Cubs. PCA Bush. Okay. Um, so there's a lot of like interesting trends that I see in this one. I just don't really know how to process them right this second, but let's see if we can work through it. So the Cubs are 3-0 against the White Sox this season and won by 4+ runs in all of those games. The Cubs are 2-6 though in Friday home games, or excuse me, Friday road games, and the White Sox are 6-2 in Friday home games. Now, I'm seeing this is a good part for left-handed hitters to hit home runs, but we'll look at that here in just a second. Run line trends that I think are advantageous are for the Cubs in this one. They rank first on the run line after a loss, and they rank second on the run line as a road favorite. Now, Imanaga hasn't pitched against the White Sox this season, but the Cubs do have a 5-2 road record with Imanaga pitching this season. They won 3 of those games by 3+ runs. However, they did lose both of those games by 4+ runs. So we're talking about that number 4 a little bit here, right? The Cubs have played the White Sox 3 times this season. They're undefeated against them, and they won each of those games by 4+ runs. Well, the Cubs are 5-2 with Imanaga on the road, and the 2 losses that the Cubs had were by 4+ runs. Average pitch count 86, not just for this season, but in his last 5 games. He's worse against Imanaga, the Cubs pitcher, is worse against right-handed hitters, and we're talking about batting average, home run, walks allowed. Um, Now Hauser, right-handed pitcher, um, for the Cubs. So the White Sox. Here's an interesting. If you're thinking the White Sox are sleepy tonight, I do like this trend that the White Sox are 4-0 at home with Hauser this season. 4-0 with the starting pitcher tonight. They won one of those games by exactly 3 runs, though. The other games that they won, the other 3 games that they won, were by exactly 1 run. Average pitch count 92. It's been 90 in his last 5 games. He is worse against left-handed hitters, and we're talking about batting average, home run, and walks. And we did mention that although Imanaga is worse against right-handed hitters, Hauser is worse against left-handed hitters, and this is a left-handed hitting home run park from a couple of sources that I looked at, um, which I've mentioned earlier. Excuse me. Okay, so when we're looking at batters, that have a decent batting average for the Cubs, I like the batters I'm seeing a little bit more than I do. Uh, I like the Cubs batting average against right-handed pitching a little bit more than I like um, the White Sox batting average against left-handed pitching. Also, these are two pitchers that rely on the pitch that they like. So Imanaga is throwing 50% of the time four seamer. And there's some White Sox here on that I got on my list that aren't batting the greatest off that four seamer. So we got Benintendi batting 196 off that four seamer, Slater batting a 182, Taylor 226. Whereas the Chicago Cubs, Hauser 45% of the time throws that sinker. And the Cubs are batting good off of that sinker. 265 for Bush, 286 for PCA, 380 for Tucker, 287 for Horner, Suzuki 315, and Swanson 319 off that 45% used pitch. And then when we're thinking about slugging percentage, like PCA, uh, he's a lefty, isn't he? I'm pretty sure he's a lefty, right? Yeah, throws left, bats left. Okay, cool. Um, It just wasn't telling me on my sheet here, but yeah. So PCA slugging 614 out of all the players that I have here on my list. PCA slugging at a 614, so that's good. Um, what other left-handed hitters? Of course, like Bush and Tucker. The question is which one, right? Out of these guys, so I'd have to lean towards a lefty. So Bush, Tucker, or PCA to go deep here. Mm, so the sinker, I think, is the most important. Who bats the best off that sinker because it's 45% used, right? So that kind of narrows it down for me for PCA or Tucker. Bush is slugging that sinker at a 353, and Tucker's slugging at a 580, and PCA is slugging at a 571. And then the 16% curve, all around, I would say PCA probably has the best chance here. 571 slugging off the sinker, 765 slugging off the 16% used curve, 474 slugging off that change. And Tucker's 585 and 500. 500, 580, 500, and 500. So, maybe somebody has a little bit of history, maybe against Hauser. I don't really, see much here from at least those three guys. So, um, mm, anyways, so Cubs offense is ranks third best in runs per game on the road. White Sox rank 27th in runs per game at home. Cubs defense has been doing good at home. White Sox offense or on the road, and White Sox offense hasn't been doing good at home. The Cubs have a big base stealing advantage in this game. Now, what I will say is that Hauser is pretty decent at holding base runners, but as a team, Chicago White Sox ranked 25th So what's like sixth worst, fifth or sixth worst in stolen bases allowed per game, and the Cubs rank second in stolen bases per game. The Cubs are good at base stealing advantage, or excuse me, base stealing prevention. The Cubs have a good bullpen ERA. It's slightly better. It's ranked 10th, and the White Sox do. Um, the Cubs strike out less times per game, so just a lot of little advantages adding up. So I'm going to look for the Cubs to end the White Sox 4-0 home winning streak with Hauser pitching. And I think um, I'd have to lean towards that run line for the Cubs as well because they've won every game that they've played against the White Sox this year by 4+ runs. So they're 3-0 against the White Sox this season. Won all of them by 4+ runs. Now, I think the White Sox have been kind of hot lately, though, right? So just because, the data is all leading towards one thing doesn't necessarily mean that that's the right move. Um, Maybe you've done your own research in this game. Maybe you found something that you like about the Cubs today, and you just heard that, and you're just like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I'm gonna make that pick." So, ultimately, it's up to you. I'd have to lean towards the Cubs in this game. All right, moving on. The Braves and Texas Rangers. Texas is 5-4 in Friday home games. I don't have Atlanta's Friday road games wrote down here. The biggest advantage on the run line trends that I see is the Texas Rangers are ranked first on the run line when they're a home favorite. Now, these lineups weren't in whenever I was just started the show. So let me just check real quick what we're working with here. Hope everybody's having a great day. Thank you for joining. If you guys ever have any questions, feel free to let me know, or JB or anything. So, all right. All right. So, Joey Wentz, pitcher for Atlanta, projected starting pitcher. He hasn't been pitching deep into games. His pitch count average is 28 this season and 43 in his last 5 games. All right. So he's projected to start this game. He could be limited to around 5 innings or 70 pitches is what I'm seeing here, according to rotowire.com. Atlanta's bullpen does rank 19th in ERA, so I think that's a cause for concern with their starting pitcher and all. Their starting pitcher walks, guys. 4.8 walks per 9 inning average, and he's below average at holding base runners. Although it's typically tougher to steal bases against a left-handed pitcher than it is a righty. But it's possible against lefties, right? And this lefty looks like he's a little below average at holding base runners from advancing. Now, Texas, we did mention that Wentz walks per 9 inning average is high. It's at 4.8, which is probably one of the highest ones on today's slate. But Texas isn't great at drawing walks. They're ranked 25th in team walks per game. Uh, Evaldi, right-handed pitcher for Texas, hasn't pitched against Atlanta this season. Texas is 3-4 at home with Evaldi. I didn't bother looking at what Wentz the Braves are with Wentz because Wentz is kind of like kind of just like a bullpen guy. But yeah, Texas is 3-4 at home with Evaldi. They only won 2 of those games by 2+ runs, so One of the games that they did win was by one. They lost all three games that they lost three out of four games that they lost by 3+ runs. Now, Evaldi, his average pitch count this season has been 85, but it's been 66 in his last five games. Um, I think it's just because there's a couple games here. He only pitched 2 and 3 innings. So I don't know what happened in those games. But it looks like May 27th and June 27th, he only pitched 2 innings and 3 innings. But he's pitched five or more innings in his last three games, okay? His last game, he pitched 102 pitches. Um, but the last time he pitched 100 plus, he pitched 39 the next day. So I think it's kind of important what happened in this game against Toronto on May 27th. Anyways, let's say he does come out of the game a little bit early today. Texas bullpen ranks third in that ERA department. Um, Looking at batting averages and stuff like that against the hand that the pitcher throws with, I like Atlanta's bats a little bit more, but yeah, I mean, I like Atlanta's bats a little bit more in this game. And Atlanta's offense has been a little bit better on the road, but Texas's defense has been a little bit better at home. Base stealing advantage, I got to give it to Texas. Bullpen advantage, a significant base stealing advantage for Texas. And if they can get on with Wentz, walking people, it could be dangerous because Atlanta ranks 24th in stolen bases allowed per game. Um, I like Texas's bullpen. Real tough game for me to call here. I'd have to lean towards Texas. Really, the base stealing I like. I like that it could be a bullpen game for Atlanta, who ranks 19th in bullpen ERA. I like Texas defense. I don't necessarily like, even though I like more batters for Atlanta against the right-handed pitcher than I do for Texas against the lefty. These guys for Atlanta don't have the most impressive batting average against Evaldi's favorite pitch, which is the splitter that he's been using at a 30% rate. So, um, yeah, I'd have to lean towards Texas here. All right, Cleveland and Kansas City. This game, like we stated, could be the game that unfortunately gets rained out. This was kind of a wait. Hold on, Colorado and Baltimore. Hold on, let me look at this real quick. Kansas City game aside, because that's the ugliest spot. This game in Baltimore has the highest chance of an in-game delay. It's just a chance for a delay, but all the other games are can't quite rule out a delay, and this is a delay is more legitimately possible. They're saying here on rotogrinders.com. I wouldn't just check one source when it comes to weather. I'd use multiple sources, but I'm just kind of looking at this Kansas City game. Uh, I like how Kansas City matches up. I was kind of just looking at it earlier, but let's take a look here. Cleveland's 4-2 against the Royals this season. Now Cleveland has won by 3+ runs in every one of those wins. Kansas City only won by exactly two in one of the games, won by one in one of the other games. So the Royals are 3-5 in Friday home games, right? Six of those games were decided by 2+ runs. But in my notes here, I got that the Royals, this game could be really, really close. And I'll tell you why. So Kansas City's 5-5 at home with Walker this season, but only one time did they win that game by exactly 2 runs. The other four wins that they've had at home with Walker this season, the Royals have won by exactly one. So if you're thinking like Royals, -1.5 here tonight, I think there's a couple of things to look at. So I'm not saying it's not a terrible move. I'm not saying it is a terrible move, but you know, the game could postpone. They could start playing, and it ends up getting postponed in the middle of the game, which could affect that run line. And then, Walker 5-5 at home. Kansas City's 5-5 at home with Walker, and they've won 4 of those games by only 1 run. Anyways, Cleveland's 3-6 on the road with Williams this season. And let me just double check to make sure that's who's still projected to pitch in this one. Yeah, Gavin Williams versus Walker. So Williams pitched at Kansas City on March 29th, and the Guardians lost that game by a run, 4-3. He had 5 innings pitched, 4 hits allowed, 2 earned runs, a walk, and a strikeout, no home runs. Now, although Cleveland is 3-6 on the road with Williams, they won all of those games by 2+ runs. They lost 3 of the 6 games that they did lose on the road with Williams by 3+ runs. Williams has a pretty high pitch count, 94 in his last, throughout the season, 95 in his last 5. Walker, on the flip side, 88 in his season and 89 in his last 5. So, uh, what I have in my notes here is that Williams has a much worse batting average against right-handed hitters. So, if you're looking for a Royal to get a hit today, you know, you might like, Garcia, Witt, Salvi. What I will say is Bobby Witt is batting the best out of those 3 guys against the 4 seam this season, which is the most used pitch by Williams. And then even the second most used pitch, the 22% used sweeper, Bobby's batting at a higher batting average, and the curve. So the top 3 pitches out of those 3 guys that Williams likes to throw, Bobby's has the best batting average out of Garcia, Witt, and Salvi, the right-handed hitters. So. Um, But if you're thinking Garcia or Salvi here, Garcia bats better against the 4 seam, which is his most used pitch. And then it's Salvi's batting slightly better against that sweeper. And then Garcia's batting much better than Salvi against the curve. So to get a hit, probably in order, I'd probably go Bobby, Garcia, Salvi. And then walks per 9 inning. Wow. Williams. So if the Royals, draw some walks here, which they could. Now the Royals are the worst team in baseball at drawing walks per game, but this guy Williams does walk people at a high rate. So I think the Royals could get an extra guy or 2 on by drawing the walk. Now, if they do rank 13th in stolen bases per game, and Cleveland is a little bit below average in base stealing prevention. But I'm seeing that Williams is good at holding base runners from taking advantage of those bases. So it's kind of a wash there, right? Uh, Now Walker pitched at in Kansas City, pitched versus Cleveland on March 30th, and the Royals lost that game 6-2. He had 4 innings pitched, 4 hits allowed, 1 earned run, no home runs, 4 walks, 2 strikeouts. Um, Now Walker has a worse batting average against left-handed hitters. Worse, he allows more home runs though off of right-handed hitters. So if you're thinking about taking a righty today for Cleveland for some reason to hit a home run, you got that going for you. Um, Now I really like how the Royals bats match up more against that right-handed pitching than I do Cleveland against the right-handed pitching for Walker. There's only 2 guys I got on this list that have a decent batting average against right-handed pitching for Cleveland, and that's Ramirez with 279 and Kwan with 301. But with the Royals, when we're looking at batting average against right-handed pitching, I see 6 guys that are batting 258 or better for the Royals here. So against right-handed pitching, so I really like the Royals in regard to that. Um, I will say that Cleveland, these bullpens are about the same. I would say Kansas City does have a base stealing advantage. They're good at not just they're not ju- they're okay at stealing bases. Cleveland's a little below average at base stealing prevention. Cleveland's a good base stealing team as well, but the Royals don't let people steal on them a whole lot. They rank first in stolen bases allowed per game. So I'm just seeing, more reasons here to like the Royals. And what I will say is Cleveland sometimes I underestimate them. There's a few teams that I underestimate sometimes. Cleveland, Texas, Angels, just to name a few. Um, I, I really like the Royals tonight, but of course the rain. But I think the Royals could also, possibly win this game by 1 run. So maybe a walk off. Um, it's unfortunate that this rain. I mean, either way, plus 1.5 Cleveland, money line Kansas City is the way I'd be leaning in this one. But I don't know. This is a big divisional game at home for Kansas City. The crowd should be into it tonight, especially if they have to, get through some rain. Yeah, I like the Royals tonight. All right. Athletics in Houston. Josh Hader brick red throwback jersey. First 10,000 fans at this Houston game tonight. So congratulations if you're going to be one of those fans. So we got 3 games or so, 4 games left on the slate here. I will say I do a lot of research before these shows. So it's right about this time, and we got about 20 minutes is what I want to cap us at. I don't want to go over the 2 hour mark. So I'm just trying to get through this as quick as possible. All right, and give you guys some information. So Houston's 4-3 against the Athletics this season. Houston won by 2+ runs in all of those wins. Athletics also won by 2+ runs in all of those wins. The Houston Astros are 6-3 on Friday home games, and the Athletics are 4-5 in Friday road games. Run line trend advantages. I don't see really any except I guess Houston run line after a loss ranks 16th best in baseball. The Athletics ranked 27th on the run line as a road underdog. That's what I'm seeing here. Now, Springs versus Gusto. Springs hasn't pitched against Houston this season. The Athletics are 6-6 with Springs on the road this season, whereas Houston is 4-8 with Gusto at home. But you know what's funny is that Houston won all 4 of those games by 4+ runs, even though they have a losing 4-8 record with Gusto at home. All 4 of those wins were by 4+ runs. And guess what? They lost all of those games by 2+ runs. So every game that Houston's had with Gusto pitching at home this season has been decided by 2+ runs. And if they've won 4+, 6-6 with Springs on the road. They won 4. The Athletics are 4 of those games. They won by 3+ runs. 3 of those games they won by 7+ runs, and they lost 5 games out of the 6 by 3+ runs. Oh, they lost 4 games by 4+ runs. So, I mean, that's kind of interesting there, right? So all games that if you like Houston tonight, right? All 4 games that Houston won with Gusto at home, they won by 4+ runs, and then every game, excuse me, 4 out of the 6 games that the Athletics have lost on the road with Springs pitching was by 4+ runs. Um, Worst batting average versus left-handed hitters is what I'm seeing here for Springs. Worst batting average, but he allows more home runs and walks to right-handed hitters. His home run rate is also one of the higher ones of the day. It's at 1.5. The Athletics pitcher, and I'm seeing that he's terrible at holding base runners. So how does Houston rank with base stealing? They rank 18th, so they like to swipe some bags from time to time. Not only am I seeing that Springs is terrible at holding base runners, and I would look at that if you really take that factor into consideration. And I believe I am right on that, but I was just double check me. I'm still learning things as well. So, but Springs is terrible at holding base runners, and the Athletics as a team are below average at base stealing prevention. Let me backtrack real quick. I think I misspoke. Houston ranks 24th in stolen bases per game. Okay, so they're not like a super fast team, but they may try to swipe an extra bag or two tonight, just because I'm seeing that Springs is really bad at holding base runners. Okay, so Gusto, I'm seeing in my notes here, he's kind of been a like a bulk relief pitcher. So his average pitch count hasn't been very high. It's been 49 in his last five, 59 throughout the season. So I do expect Houston's bullpen to come in maybe a little bit early in this game, but they do rank fourth best in baseball with that ERA. Sitting at 3.27, whereas the Athletics bullpen ranks 29th in baseball, 5.45 ERA. So the Athletics bullpen is terrible compared to Houston's. Strikeouts per game, Houston ranks ninth best in that department. Athletics rank 21st, so they do strike out from time to time. Now, I really do like how the Athletics match up against the right-handed pitching Gusto. I really like not just their batting average against right-handed pitching, but I like their batting average against the 50, or excuse me, the 46% used four-seam fastball by Gusto. I mean, these guys are batting 323, 321, 321, 316, 302 off that specific pitch. And that's a heavily used pitch from Gusto. But what I will say is that, like we said, Gusto could come out of this game, and some other bullpen guys get some work. So I don't know exactly what the Athletics are going to be up against tonight, but I think they match up well against Gusto. Much better than how Houston matches up tonight. And honestly, I'm looking at Houston's lineup, and it looks kind of weird. Um, I haven't paid attention to all their starting lineups, right? But something I could have sworn the Caratini guy was usually batting lower in the lineup. He's looked projected to bat in the third hole tonight. Cam Smith leading off. Could have sworn I saw him in the four hole not too long ago. So it looks like they're just switching some things up. It looks like some guys might be out for Houston tonight. Um, I mean, with all that being said, I don't know what the Athletics are going to be up against tonight. This this is a tough game for me to call here. Um, because if I were have to lean one way, I'd have to go with the Athletics, but I'm scared of their bullpen. The Athletics have a bad bullpen. I'm scared of the fact that Springs isn't that good at holding base runners, but luckily Houston's not the greatest at stealing bases. Um, I just I like how the Athletics match up against Gusto. But man, I don't feel good at that one about that game at all. But sometimes those are the ones that hit. All right, moving on. Washington at Minnesota. Peanuts 75th anniversary celebration tonight in Minnesota. I think that cartoon Peanuts cartoon was maybe made in Minnesota, so they're celebrating the 75th. Yeah, the creator was born in Minneapolis, so they're doing that tonight there in Minnesota. So these teams haven't played each other this season. 5-3, and Minnesota's 5-3 in Friday home games. I got to go through this a little bit quicker. So we got 10 minutes left. Washington and Minnesota. So Gore hasn't pitched against Minnesota. Washington is 5-6 on the road with Gore this season. Minnesota's 1-0 with Matthews at home. I'm just gonna try to get to the quick points here. I don't really see anything about this game that bullpens are bad. Washington ranks last in bullpen ERA. Minnesota ranks 23rd. Runs per game on the road. Washington's allowing more runs per game on the road. That's the biggest benefit I see for Minnesota here. Washington could steal some bases, but I'm seeing that Matthews isn't the worst at base stealing prevention. Minnesota doesn't really like stealing bases. Washington strikes out less. I like how Washington's bats match up. I also like Minnesota's, but I haven't looked at. Well, let me just confirm these starting lineups real quick. And then, okay, and then him, cool. And for Minnesota, we got Castro, Correa, him, and him. Okay, so it looks about even here. Both of these pitchers use their favorite pitch a lot. So Gore uses the four seam 50% of the time, and then Matthews uses the four seam 44% of the time. So really the question is, which starting players bat the best off of the four seam? Uh, it's close. What about the next pitch? I'm thinking, I'm just, I feel better. Now, Washington and the Athletics are both underdogs, right? Something makes me feel a little bit better about Washington in this one. They're a tougher team to strike out. They can steal some bases. I like how they match up. I've liked in previous shows. I've liked how the Athletics bats matched up against certain teams, and they didn't come through. Right? They still let me down. So um, I think I like Washington here. Plus 1.5 more than I would lean towards the Athletics, but both of them are close. I felt better about earlier games. And typically, you'll see me feel better about earlier games as we progress through the show, just because I have less time to kind of look at these later games, and sometimes they're not out. The lineups aren't out before I in the stream. I think going into this one, I was saying that my gut was telling me Washington, so and I feel like there's enough reasons for me to be okay with it. All right, Seattle and Angels. Looks like Neto bobblehead night here for you Angels fans. So Seattle's 4-2 against the Angels this season. Seattle won by 2+ runs in 3 of those games. The Angels won by exactly 2 in one of the games that they did win, and then they won by exactly 1 in the other game that they won. So this ranks sixth best park for right-handed hitting home runs. In my notes here, I'm seeing target Seattle right-handed hitters. So Soriano is worse against right-handed hitters. We already talked about, and this is batting average and home runs. So when I'm looking at these right-handed bats for, and you guys, you probably already know the history with Seattle's right-handed bats against this guy, but it doesn't look like Naylor or Crawford, and I think those guys might even be lefties, but doesn't look like anybody really has any if they do have history, it's not good, and if they do have history, they're left-handed hitters. Looking for Rodriguez and probably a Rosarena here. Now, excuse me, hold on. Let me backtrack. Yes. Uh, Rodriguez batting a 260 batting average, but he's only slugging 394 off right-handed pitching. Not Polanco. Polanco's a switch, right? But he'd be batting left tonight. I think Rodriguez is going to be the first guy I would look at there, and then we can maybe just kind of look at what Rodriguez bats against the 51% used sinker by Soriano, um, Mariners. I'm gonna have to end the live here soon, guys. But yeah, Polanco, or excuse me, Rally is really slugging that at a 947. But I'm not going to look into it too much, guys, because I'm trying to wrap this up. But I'd be looking at Rodriguez and Rosarena once again because it's a good ballpark for right-handed hitter home runs. I think the wind, as we talked about earlier, is pushing straight away, center almost at 10 miles per hour, and then uh, Soriano is worse against right-handed hitters, batting average and home runs. Now, Woo, Seattle's 5-6 on the road with Woo. They won 3 of those games by 5+ runs. Lost only 2 games by 2+ runs. His pitch count's been about 78. So when I'm looking at these bullpens, Seattle has a much better bullpen ERA. They rank 13th. Angels rank 28th. Now, when I'm looking at Soriano, right? So the Angels are 2-8 at home with Soriano. They won one game by exactly 8 runs. So one game they only won by 1. They lost all the games that they did lose by 2+ runs. I think this might be my favorite spot here today. If I, had a little bit more time and was looking into it a little bit more here, but I like what I'm seeing here with Seattle and their bats and how they match up against this pitcher. And I like this trend, how Soriano, the Angels are 2-8 at home with him and lost all those games by 2+ runs. They lost 7 of those games by 3+ runs. They lost 6 of those games by 4+ runs. Um, Seattle's a good. They're scoring runs on the road very well. They rank second. Angels rank 26 in runs per game allowed at home. Um, all right. Seattle ranks fifth in stolen bases per game. Seattle's got a big advantages everywhere. This is probably my favorite play of the day. Is Naylor in? Yep. Crawford, Rodriguez. Yeah, and he's not playing. But I just would like to look into it a little bit more. I just don't have the time. Neto, and well, I mean, the Angels have been sneaky, so just maybe be careful with it. If I wouldn't go push. Look into it a little bit more, right? But that's probably like one of the better spots that I've seen, I think. And then I did like some other stuff earlier, and then the Mets and the San Francisco game. I think I'm about to get out of here, guys. Let's see. I got 2 minutes tops. And then on that note, let me just refresh this page to see if we got any rain out from the Royals game. I don't see anything quite yet. I don't see anything with like this park being like very home run hit friendly. San Francisco's. I don't even think one of the starting lineups is out, so it's kind of tough for me to like even talk about this game with it when I don't see both starting lineups, which is why I start the show so late in the day, about 5 p.m. Eastern time, so we can get these starting lineups, instead of naming a bunch of players and teams and nobody starting for either side, right? Or just some big players that are out. Um, Holmes could walk some guys tonight. Pitcher for the Mets. San Francisco ranks fourth in team walks per game, and he has a high walks per 9 inning average. Okay, I got to get out of here in less than a minute, guys. Uh, I mean, I don't know. This is kind of a toss up here for me. San Francisco 6-4 at home with Webb. The Mets are 6-4 at home with Holmes. But anyways, Mets have San Francisco has a better bullpen. I guess I'd have to lean towards San Francisco in this one, but I don't have enough information to even make a good educated decision about it. All right, guys. Well, I'm out of here. Once again, keep an eye on that Royals game for weather, and best of luck to you guys. Thank you so much for joining. We had some fun. All right, take care.